Good evening, everyone. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start with the public hearing. I make a motion to open the code changes for the building department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I invite Bill Walters, our building inspector, up here so we can, we'll do it after he.
Good evening. Bill Walters, Building Inspector, Town of Kent. Good evening, Supervisor, Town Board, and public. We're here tonight to hopefully close the public hearing on the new Chapter 27, which deals with the building code for the Town of Kent. As of January 18th, 2022, New York State adopted a new model code after the 2020, and they asked after January 2022 until December 2022 for the towns to adopt it. We were working on it prior to that, and we're a little late in getting it done. But we adopted the state model code back in 2009, and we've adopted it up until recently. So all we're doing now, there's been so many changes to the state model code, it's time for us to update our town code so it reflects some of these changes. So a lot of the changes that are coming about, some of the newer ones, one of the biggest ones actually, and it's been a conflict for the town, is the construction and installation of one-story detached structures associated with one- and two-family dwellings and multiple single-family dwellings, townhouses, which are using for tools and storage sheds, playhouses, or similar uses that provide a gross floor area that does not exceed 144 square feet, 12 by 12. We've been inundated for almost at least 10 years that I've been here doing the building inspection with small sheds. The zoning code, the zoning board has said anything that was 8 by 10 or smaller didn't need permits, and they could go anywhere within the setbacks. Because this section of the code didn't clarify sheds. It said playhouses. So now with this change here, we don't have to worry about small sheds being on properties. And it seems like every property's got a small shed somewhere on it. And it's been an issue. It really has. So that will clarify that. There's a lot of definitions that have been added with this new code change that were not in our current code. It also addresses an enlargement, any enlargement, alteration, or replacement, or relocation to any building systems. And it clarifies what those building systems are: electrical, HVAC, plumbing, gas, mechanical, and chimney vents. So anything that's within those systems would require permits. So again, there's lots of definitions that have changed. The other thing that's changed is each application for a building permit shall be accompanied by 2 sets of plans, and there's a outline of what is required when you submit your set of plans for a building permit. They were there before, but it's just better clarified now. Building permit fees hasn't changed. Construction inspections, there's an added chapter there that deals, and a lot of this deals with conservation code, the energy code, to the changes there. The state has really gone after with the energy code. So there's a new section there that says that construction, there has to be special inspections dealing with the energy code compliance, blower door test, air leakage systems, and stuff like that. Our current town code never addressed those. We've been addressing them ever since the state came out with those code changes. Now it'll be in our town code that those are some of the things that we're looking at. Remote inspections. We never addressed remote inspections. During COVID, even the state, prior to COVID, the state didn't have a thing on remote inspections. In the new section, since COVID, there's now a thing that on how to do remote inspections. So that's also there. One of the things that I've asked is that section 27-14 for septic cesspools and well permits be removed. Currently, we haven't been collecting any fees for those particular permits anyway. They're $5 and $10. All of those permits are all reviewed and signed off and approved by the Board of Health. They're the ones who collect the fees. They're the ones who do the final inspections on all of that, and we don't do it, so it's redundant. So I'd like to take that section out, leave chapter 2714 in reserve, leave it blank, so in case we need to add something later on, we can insert it into that particular spot. There's no change in stop work orders. There are we've added a couple of new chapters. One is partial invalidity. I'm not going to be able to get that one. Validity. That was in there. Effective date of the town code of this state code. There's another new chapter in there for climate and geographic design criteria, which the state came out with a couple years ago that we were supposed to have it, and we've been doing it. But it needs to be documented and so that when somebody wants to go to the town code, they can see what those designs are. And we've done that. So one of the biggest things is Chapter 2731, Conditions and Assessment of Parking Garages. I have never done one in 10 years. We don't have any parking garages for me to assess. But if we ever get a parking garage, there's a whole procedure on how to assess the parking garages if it has a problem and it might fail. In the near future, I really believe we will have one with the growth that's going to hopefully someday go along Route 52. We'll have a parking issue problem and we'll have to have a parking garage. We'll be ahead of the curve. We'll have it. And it's that section that is very lengthy, again. And most of it's not done by the building department, it's done by engineers. But basically, that's it. The state doesn't tell us how much a fee has to be for permits or anything else like that, so we're still able to work with our own fee schedules. So there's no change there. That's it.
I have one question on sheds. So there's always this classic thing, a shed that's not movable and a shed that is movable. Is there a difference? One that has a foundation that cannot be moved?
Doesn't matter. What the code says, if it's put together and it's held with a fastening device, a screw, a bolt, it's a structure, and you need a permit for it. If it's a Rubbermaid system and it snaps together, then you don't. Basically, those are temporary structures that they don't require permits. Most sheds that are going to be 12 by 12 and larger are going to take you out of that Rubbermaid stage.
So foundation or not, doesn't make a difference. It's
Foundation or not, yeah, because it's a shelter and it's meant to protect either humans or personal property. So,
Very good.
okay.
Unrelated to the code change, but you mentioned it, our fee schedule, is it up to date? Do we need to address that at some point in the future?
I think in the future we need to look at it. It hasn't, our permit fees has not been addressed. The last time we looked at it was 2017 was the last time we updated the permit fees. So it's probably due. I think the fine schedules, Nancy and I were talking earlier about some of the fine schedules, some things, but I think the fine schedules need to be upgraded in some categories. So in case we ever get to court and there's actually a fine issued, because right now they're pretty low. But that's something we can address. Any other questions?
I'm just going to start the sheds also. I couldn't hear you. Did you say you have to go with the setbacks? If it's small and you don't need a permit, you still have to go with the setback.
No.
You don't have to go with the setback.
If you don't require a permit, then you don't have to worry about the setbacks. Okay? And I also would say, because we've got a few permits that are out there for sheds, I would also put forth to the board that we close those permits out as they come due, to close those out and not reissue any permits for smaller sheds that are under 12 by 12.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we have roll call
Supervisor McCloskey?
here?
Councilman Campbell? Present. Councilman Tompori?
Here.
Councilman Ruthven?
Here.
Councilman Boyd?
Here.
Thank you. All right. Is everyone ready to vote on this now?
Yes.
Okay. Someone want to read the resolution?
What is the local law?
Oh, three.
Three.
Thank you.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution adopting local law 3 of 2023. Whereas a local law to amend Kent Town Code, Chapter 27, entitled, quote, Building Administration and Construction, end quote, was introduced as introductory local law number 3, the local law of the year 2023, before the Town Board of the Town of Kent on February 21st, 2023. And whereas the public hearing was open on March 7th, 2023, and the public was invited to attend and be heard on the matter. Now therefore be it resolved that introductory local law number 3 of 2023 is hereby enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Kent as local law 3 of 2023 of the Town of Kent, and be it further resolved that a true copy of the law is attached hereto and made a part hereof. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next item is for recreation. We would like to put up a new net at Ryan's Field across the tennis courts. The net there hasn't been replaced in a very long time, and the one that we're looking to buy kind of also has the attachment, so it can be a pickleball net and a volleyball net for younger kids to use, and the tennis net. So we got 3 quotes, and the cheapest being from National Sports Products for a total of $1,549. So I ask that we approve that tonight. Any comments?
Just, no, I'm all in favor of it. I'm just wondering, do we have to do a resolution for something that's under $3,000 for something like this?
Yes.
We do?
Every department, I think, has its own limits
Threshold?
where they, yeah, the thresholds, that's
Okay.
right.
And I feel that also, since I'm the supervisor and the rec,
Right.
that I should do this and not just.
I mean, the reason I ask is I know that I'm looking at stuff for Lake Carmel, lifeguard chairs, et cetera. We'll probably have to do a resolution
Yes,
for them.
we
too,
will.
then. Okay. I'm just doing it for my own personal
Okay.
benefit here.
Right. So just want to read the resolution. Want me to read it because it's not filled in?
I'll do it.
I'll fill it in.
Okay.
Ready? I'd like to make a resolution authorizing the purchase of net for Recreation and Parks Department. Whereas the town board has been advised that there is a need for a new net for the Recreation and Parks Department, whereas consistent with the town's procurement policy, 3 companies were asked to provide quotes for the netting, and the lowest quote received in response to the request was from, what'd you say,
National Sports Products.
National Sports Products in the amount of
$549.
$549. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the purchase of nets from National Sports Products in the amount of $1,549. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Just, I gotta ask, what's the difference between the different nets that this one's gonna be used for everything?
Well, it's interchangeable, so they're different.
So the posts are there, but you can put different
Like a
nets on the
pickleball
posts.
net is, I think it's wider than a tennis net, and then the volleyball net is, it has to
That'd
be
be higher,
raised up,
right,
so.
okay. All right, that makes sense, thank you.
It makes it more multi-purpose, so it's not just one thing that can be done there.
Yep.
And pickleball's become very, very popular. So,
I
All
have
right.
no idea what that is. Imagine the ball looks like a pickle.
yep, that's what it is, you're right. I know, that's, All right, our next item on the agenda is fireworks. Last meeting, we had a gentleman here from July Forever Fireworks, Inc., and they contacted me, they sent me everything. I had the town attorneys go over it and make sure everything was satisfactory. I did reach out to our prior fireworks company, who did not get back to me.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
I was reading the backup, and I noticed that in the contract, you have $10,000.
They know that it's not.
No, I know, but then it looks like, are you paying, you know what I mean? Like, so when the vouchers come, because it's usually paid by Theater in the Barn, pays them that donation, and we always had the town only said 5,000 because that's all they could commit to. So that was a question of mine, that you have 10,000, so it looks like the town, do you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point, and it also says that in the resolution that you're authorizing the expenditure of $10,000, so you might
It
want
should
to
be-
change that.
It
And-
should be 5,000.
Yeah.
We can approve.
And they agree, yes, that's
Yes.
what they always did. They know that the town can only commit to 5,000, but then they get paid by the donations from Theater in the Barn.
So we can rewrite this resolution so it says 5,000, and then I will call them tomorrow and have them redo.
Right.
I want to do this because I want to hold
Oh,
our
no, I
date.
understand. I just, if you got
Yes.
audited or whatever, it's going to show, it looks like you've spent the 10,000.
So,
So a couple comments on this. I thought we had determined through our budget process last year that there was that we weren't limited to just 5,000. You recall that?
That is true,
That
yes.
is
I-
true.
you looked into
And I thought
it,
we
it was-
actually budgeted a little more than 5,000 this year because the expenses of the fireworks were going up. I think we have a budgeted more amount than $5,000.
the wording
But it was a
is-
law that.
No,
No,
the
we
wording
found
is
out.
that it's like a what the town considers a reasonable amount for the fireworks.
Okay, you used to say celebrations, you could only spend up to $5,000 with, so,
No, we actually
Wasn't that
looked
what it
into
was, a reasonable, whatever the
Yes.
town sees as a reasonable amount?
okay.
So I think.
No, you were right, though. It did used
Okay.
to say that.
Okay,
It did.
all right.
So,
So my point being, before we handicap ourselves to 5,000 in the resolution, I'd like to know what we budgeted.
budgeted 7,500.
7,500, I think we should at least approve that amount. We don't have to spend that entire amount, do we?
No.
No. So
You can spend up to,
Not to exceed.
so not, yeah,
not to
so.
exceed.
Okay.
And also, Madam Supervisor, since we have several comments on the contract, at the end of this, we should also just add, once, when we're authorizing in the last paragraph, to make it all on a form satisfactory to the town attorney.
Okay.
Just want to make sure they do the proper remediation.
I think Jamie talked to them today. You're Jamie. Or
Okay.
yesterday, she called them, so,
All in a form
she's working.
satisfactory to the town
town
attorney.
attorney.
Yes.
And not to exceed 7,500, right?
Yep.
Do we have a rain date picked for this blank up here?
Yeah,
It's the
it's in
second.
here, it's, yeah,
July 2nd?
Yeah.
All right.
okay.
Any other comments on that one, or we'll go with it?
We good?
Leaving the fee at 10 grand
No, we're
And just
changing
changing this down
we're
here.
changing this.
and this,
Yep, both,
okay,
okay.
no worries.
All right. I'd like to make a resolution approving the agreement for July 4th. July 4th Ever Fireworks, Inc. and Rocco Palifrone. Is that right? Whereas the town of Kent is in receipt of a proposed agreement with July 4th Ever Fireworks, Inc. and Rocco Palifrone for the annual 4th of July fireworks display sponsored by the town of Kent on July 1st, 2023, with a rain date of July 2nd, 2023. And whereas the fee for the fireworks display is not to exceed $7,500. And is that right? Or is that what the town, I mean, that's not gonna be the total.
No,
No, it's-
All right,
This
so
is
let's
like
leave it.
our-
The
this
fee
is
for the
our part.
fireworks not to exceed is $7,500, and the agreement requires a deposit of $1,000 in order to secure the fireworks display and date. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent has determined that the agreement is in the best interests of the town and desires to enter into the agreement, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the agreement with July 4 Ever Fireworks, Inc. and Rocco Palafrone in the form annexed hereto, and authorizes payment of the fee for the display in the amount not to exceed $7,500, which includes a $1,000 deposit to July 4 Ever Fireworks, Inc. and Rocco Palafrone. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, all in a form satisfactory to the town attorney. I make this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda is a climate action planning. I invite Councilwoman Campbell to discuss this.
Yes, I'm just looking to see if the resolution is here.
It's in the pack, the backup. Here.
Going back?
Okay, so we talked about this at the last meeting. We've just about completed the greenhouse gas inventories, which are an important step towards climate smart certification. But knowing what we're doing in the way of energy consumption isn't helpful unless we then take that information and use it to create plans to reduce that consumption and then take those actions. So the next step is to develop a climate action plan. We've signed on for a cohort program that the Hudson Regional Council is doing with a number of different municipalities to help them in this process. So we're going to be undertaking that over what I think would be about the next year. And our first homework assignment, in a sense, in that cohort is to go ahead and pass a resolution just indicating that we are taking this step and that the town is on board with going ahead with it. So I make a motion to adopt a resolution to undertake a government operations climate action plan. Whereas the town of Kent pledged to take part in the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Climate Smart Communities Certification Program that includes the preparation of a government operations climate action plan. And whereas a government operations climate action plan is a strategy document that sets goals and outlines a set of initiatives that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and provides a framework for achieving those targets. And whereas free technical assistance is available to support the development of the inventory and plan from the Hudson Valley Regional Council, HVRC, through an NYSDEC Climate Smart Communities Coordinator Services contract. And whereas a completed climate action plan counts towards Climate Smart Community certification, specifically under PE2 Action, Government Operations Climate Action Plan. And whereas the Kent Climate Smart Task Force, composed of environmental volunteer community leaders, will collaborate with the Hudson Valley Regional Council in the development of this publication, review drafts, and provide feedback on iterations that result in the final draft. And whereas the task force will provide an ample opportunity for public input and comment on the draft report. And whereas the task force will present a summary of the draft Government Operations Climate Action Plan to the town of Kent for consideration for adoption, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Kent hereby undertake a Government Operations Climate Action Plan. And be it further resolved, the municipal board, the Kent Town Board, authorizes submission of these documents to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Office for Climate Change for consideration of points towards Climate Smart Communities certification for the town of Kent. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is a proposal for a food waste composting pilot program. I invite Ann to discuss
Well,
this.
and Kathy's here as well. I have a handout that I made from what you had sent me, if you want to pass that out. So I want to thank members of the Climate Smart Task Force and especially Kathy, who's been working hard on this. She has expertise in this area. And we've also had support from volunteers in communities that have active programs up and running in Scarsdale and Phillipstown, and also a lot of support from the Sustainable Putnam Group, especially Joe Montori and Ken resident Janet Jamat. in putting together this very preliminary proposal. And one of the key points here is that we will be interested in seeking some funding to help pay for a pilot program to get us started. The board has it. Thanks. You want to come to the mic and talk about it?
Hi, I'm Kathy Kong, member of the Kent Climate Smart Committee, working with Ann Campbell and Joe Montori of Sustainable Putnam. In the last couple months, we visited Scarsdale and looked at their food scrap recycling program, which is very impressive. They even recycle tennis balls in Scarsdale, so.
Not as food scrap, I hope.
No, it's surfaces for courts, so they crunch up the tennis balls, and then, any kind of sports surface, they use
The rubber in it.
Yeah, yes, I thought that was kind of cool. So they have a very elaborate setup. They've been doing food scrap composting since 2017, and in Scarsdale, they just went to curbside composting pickup, because they do their own garbage and recycling pickup, so about a third of the town is participating, so they're pretty happy with the program. In Phillipstown, our neighbor on the west side, they started a pilot program about 9 months ago, and it went really well, and it just became a permanent program in January. So they have a town-wide recycling place that's only open Saturday mornings. So they put the drop-off place there. So you only have like from 9 a.m. to noon or whatever to bring your food scraps, but they have quite a few people that are 165 families that are doing it, and it's going really well. So their program, and kind of typical of Phillipstown, they seem to be, to me, paying more than they should be, but whatever. So I got a price from Curbside Compost for pickup, which is very inexpensive, and really, ultimately, that's your only cost, having a weekly hauling and processing of the compost. Everything else is reimbursable by the participants. On the back of this sheet, there's a little three-piece starter kit, and the whole idea is to make it easy for people to participate. So you have a little pail with a lid that you put on your countertop, and as you're cooking, you put all your scraps in there, and as it fills up, you have a bigger container with a handle. You put a compostable bag in there, and then you keep dumping in your compost, and however often you want to bring your compost to the drop-off place, once a week or twice a month or whatever, you just drop it off there, and that's how it works. So in Phillipstown and Scarsdale, the participant pays $20 for the starter kit, and it's at cost. So what we would be asking for the town, they're suggesting that we order 200 starter kits, so that's $4,000, but it would be reimbursed as people sign up. And we would have these kits, in all the events that we have in Kent and in other places. We would have a table, a sign up, flyers on what things you can compost, and these bins. And we would have, volunteers talking it up about, oh, it's so great to compost. And really, if you start composting, that's 30% of your garbage. So you don't have hardly any garbage. And for me, I compost at home, but you can't put, meat and bones and shellfish and stuff like that. So with a commercial compost operation, you can put all that stuff in, and pizza boxes and the compostable, containers. So it's, it's a very good program. And, as far as being concerned about the climate, it doesn't take that much to put your food scraps in a container on your kitchen counter and take them to the drop-off once a week. So it's a small thing that everybody can do that makes life a little bit better in this town. So is there any, did I cover everything?
So I just want to point out a few of the positive aspects here. Again, there is a possibility for funding. I'm going to ask our board to vote tonight on whether we would seek a grant for this. We are seeing that these programs are extremely successful in the towns that have started them, and yes, it takes time for it to evolve. But if we got to the point that Scarsdale is now, where we have curbside pickup, for example, in Lake Carmel for food waste, then the cost of that program would be completely offset because we would be sending much less to the regular landfills, which are, of course, filling up rapidly in New York State. That's another reason why the state is funding these kinds of initiatives. And also, you may say, well, I compost in my backyard, as Kathy pointed out. You can compost things that you would not compost at home. Things like even dryer lint can go in there.
Yep.
And not only that, but the greenhouse gas production is much lower when the food scraps are sent to one of these professional composting facilities. They do this at higher temperature, and so there's less methane, which is one of the more noxious greenhouse gases, largest impact. It also is a step towards Climate Smart certification, which is a nice plus. And again, I do want to thank the members of our Climate Smart Task Force. Their names are listed on the flyer. Chris Ruthven here, Councilman Ruthven, for his support, and obviously our Sustainable Putnam partners, and those who've been very eager to provide support and education to us as we've been exploring our different options and grappling with questions like, do we have a self-serve kind of a facility? What about bears getting into the bins? You know, where can we find a place to put this where we have the staffing? So I think at this point we still have to do some more research to see how this could work in Kent. We're talking about possibly Ryan's Field as a location, but that's TBD. In the meantime, I'm hoping that we can vote on seeking the funding for the pilot program. There are two programs, but I think, Kathy, you pointed out that the one we saw from DEC for food waste reduction requires you to be reducing the stream by 2,000 pounds a week or something, and we're not there yet. But this other program that I have listed on the fact sheet, the Municipal Food Scraps Recycling Initiatives Program, does fund small pilot programs. It's a 25% match, but some of that can be in kind, so volunteer time can be counted, and therefore we would mostly be getting the funds that we would need without having to lay out cash by the town. In addition, we do have some funds that the town accrued through the solar campaign, where when people signed up for community solar, the town received $100 per person that signed up, and that could be used as seed money to pay for the starter kits and some of the educational materials so we could get this going. So I'm very excited, and I'm grateful for all the work that's been put into this by town volunteers. Thank you.
I agree with the thanks to the committee, but however, I propose that we table the vote on it, setting aside any money. I need to do a better cost-benefit analysis. If you have sanitation, a lot of people are just going to say, why I got to pay extra? Why do I got to pay the extra $20 for it? So I would rather table the proposal so we get more information from the residents and see what the, general overall attitude of the residents are before we go ahead and start putting money into this.
Just to clarify, like in Phillipstown and in Scarsdale, if you want to get the starter kit, the tabletop container, and the tote bin, and the compostable bags, you pay your $20 and you get it. If you want to use your own bins and do your own thing, you can do that too. So other than the bins, there is no cost to the participant.
Right, so if I don't have the bins, I'm just hypothetically speaking as a resident, I'm just going to throw my garbage back in because I have sanitation pickup anyway.
So I think to clarify, it's a voluntary thing. If you buy the bins, then you're doing it on your own. And at this point, we're not talking about pickup from the Lake Carmel. It'd be you take your bin yourself to the dump site. But that does bring some other questions. I've been asked a few questions about this just in the last couple of days, and one of them is certainly using our current workforce as opposed to volunteers. And I don't know how that would work. I agree with you that there's some things that need to be vetted out, and whether I don't know if we have the backing behind it to use paid county employees. Volunteers like recycling does is a whole different type of scenario because it's all volunteer. The theory behind it is fantastic. It reminds me of my grandmother who recycled absolutely everything. She was composting aluminum cans, cardboard, everything was in stacks, and it was all, every day she was out turning her compost pile and making stuff for her garden. By the way, where does this stuff go from the company? Where do they end up putting it?
Curbside compost is out of Ridgefield, Connecticut. So they would pick it up weekly, and they have a anaerobic facility in New Milford, Connecticut. So it becomes, finished
Soil,
compost.
yeah.
It's not biodiesel, nothing like that, biofuel. And in the budget that we proposed having some money to have a compost give-back day. So we'd get like a dump truck of compost, and wherever, whatever location you pick as far as the drop-off, we would promote that and say, hey, you're bringing all your food scraps, why don't you come on this day and fill your bucket with finished compost for your yard.
Interesting. So you get to actually use the finished product in
Yep.
the end?
Well, I can't say that the
Might not be
curbside
yours.
compost would bring Kent's
No, I get it.
stuff
Yeah.
back, but it would be
The
other
idea
food
is
scraps.
there.
Yeah.
Some other concerns that came up were certainly location. Ann mentioned that. I think a couple of people come up to me and said, we don't want this anywhere. So
Right.
it's a really, I think it's one of the biggest hurdles to get over is where is this gonna be? I was glad to hear you say that it doesn't need to be open like 7 days a week. You could have it, look at Kent Recycling, they're open 2 days a week, and people know their days to go drop stuff.
Right, but the thing is you have to pay to be a member of the Kent Recycling.
Oh, I'm just using them
Right.
as an example. That
So-
it doesn't have to be a 7-day-a-week operation or even a 5-day-a-week operation. It could be a 1-day-a-week operation.
Phillipstown does 1 day a week,
Yeah.
yes. But they have an employee that's there, because it's their town recycling thing.
Right.
And Scarsdale has employees as well, 'cause it's,
A paid municipal employee.
yeah, but I mean, literally, it's 20 minutes of their day. I mean, it's such a minor amount of time.
So, this is kind of a question that's triggering another question. Who is monitoring what's actually being dumped in the drop-off thing to make sure that they're not dumping non-acceptable stuff into it?
Right, so they're, that's, the employee just is looking in, and, just, if there's a problem, they would call one of the volunteers and get that sorted, but you're gonna hear it from the hauling company. If there's,
they're
dog
gonna
waste.
complain
Yeah,
about
if there's
it?
dog waste, they have that's why you can't really do commercial composting on your own. You have to have a lot of equipment and a lot of licensing, and one of the big things is they have a screening machine, so stuff goes in, and things that are not supposed to be going into compost are screened out, like plastic, dog poop, stuff like that, that's screened out, but it's, a laborious process, as you can imagine. So what you want to do is, the more you can do on the education side and explain to people what is really compostable and how to do it, and that's the whole thing about having the big sign at the location. That makes a big
Kathy, you would
difference.
think that if somebody was investing the $20 or whatever, they'd be pretty conscious about what they're gonna go and put in it, because they're already in that mind frame of how they wanna do it. and what they're
Yes,
gonna do.
but I ran a compost program in the city, and I actually handled the customer service. And, the kind of people that are into this are very conscientious, and they're calling about every little thing. Oh, is it okay if I put this? Or, how about, the soil from a plant, can I put that in? So in New York City, it's a little more confusing because they have like 6 different compost programs, and they all accept different things. So, we take pizza boxes, we take any kind of paper thing. We actually even take regular plastic bags for the compost because in New York City, they have a thing called the Tiger. It's like this giant Italian machine, and it's a centrifugal force thing. It spins the compost around, and it spits out all the bags. So, but I don't think curbside composting has that, so, sorry.
So Kathy, also, I believe we heard from Michelle Sterling in Scarsdale, where they do quite a bit of analysis on
Right.
the compost, that
Yep.
they have found very little contamination of any kind, correct?
It's really, yeah, it's really the education, because that's kind of why they want to have this kit, because if someone's plunking down their $20, they feel like, okay, they heard me go through the spiel of what things can be composted and what the times are and whatever, and they're going to do a good job, so you got to look in every once in a while, but honestly, my program in the city, I mean, it's a different type of machine because it's secured access, but we had like almost no
issues.
contamination.
My concern is people just coming and throwing stuff in there, and you ever see those donation bins like at
Oh,
Home
yeah.
Depot?
That's
And
what
it
I
says
want.
like clothes only, and you'll see like chairs, and like people don't follow,
Mattresses leaning up
Yes,
against them.
yes.
Well, but again, it's all about the education, so,
And
one
the
would.
location, I mean, the
Yes,
location's
yes.
important for that.
And-
One last question, if we were to want to do a little bit more homework to Councilman Topor's comment, how do we judge the climate in Kent to see if it were something that people are really in? How do you reach out and make that, if we had 200 people sign up and say, yeah, we're interested, well, that's a different story.
Yeah.
If we do this and get involved in it and 10 people sign up, then we're like, oh, what do we do that for? How do we judge that? to
I'll get
make
you
sure?
200 people if that's the number you want. I mean, it's just a question of volunteers and getting out there and explaining how the program works. And also, I think it's, if you want to start this and say, oh, it's a pilot program, and if we don't get enough people to sign up, we can't carry on, right? So, if we have 15 people, it's not worth it.
Right.
But if you have a couple hundred, it's
It makes it
going to
worth it.
fly. Yeah, and people are going to really be into it, so.
We could certainly find a means to allow people to sign up that they're interested, whether we do that through a press release with an email address or a website. If you think that would be beneficial, just to gauge the level of interest, we could start finding out, to sort of take the pulse of the community. The other communities that have done this have found that the registrations have mushroomed, and it hasn't been an issue. So, I don't know, how is it in Yorktown? Supervisor Clausen, you had mentioned that they have it.
I don't know that much about it. I was just asking former supervisor, Matt Slater, about it, and I'll have to ask him more about it.
Yeah,
or I
let's
can
let's
call
talk
the-
with them, because that's one community that we haven't talked to. We've been in touch with, as I said, the committee's talked to Scarsdale and Phillipstown, but let's see what Yorktown's been doing as
And
well.
I've been in contact with Beacon, so Beacon also is in a pilot stage, and they've been going about 10 months, and they have 3 drop-off places that are unmanned. So 2 of them are in parks, and one is another place that's not a park, but it's an outside place. So, and they said, come by and, come visit. So they have volunteers managing it, so, if you wanted to see how that works, we
I
could take a
think
ride up
it's
there.
important that, and if we do some kind of a public outreach, that we do determine a location. Because I'm going to be completely honest about this. I think there's people that may be interested in it, but if you say, oh, it's going to be in Ryan's Park, they're going to go, no, not in the park. I think we need to lock down a location and be upfront and forward to people of where this would be located.
I was suggesting there in Town Hall. My thought is, a lot of the people that would be interested are people that are members of the recycling place, and maybe they're coming here on Wednesday or Saturday, and, Town Hall is adjacent. So, oh, I'm dropping off my stuff at the recycling place. Well, I brought my I brought my container of compost. I'll just circle around here and put it in.
What's this thing smell like?
It doesn't have smell. The key is to manage the bins. So once the bin is full, you close it and you don't touch it again. So
It's
you
got
start out with.
It's got like a seal or something on it?
No, it's just, like if you have a garbage pickup, it's a 64-gallon rolling toter, and then the lid closes. It just, especially when it's warmer weather, to have a bin that's half full that people keep opening and closing, that's when you start really having smell and maggots and problems like that. But if you have somebody that in the morning puts out, 4 fresh bins, and then in the evening you roll them away so, no vermin are going to get into it, and then it's picked up weekly. So, it's not really a problem.
So food sits in these for how many days then?
It would be 7 days.
7 days. Yeah, that's gonna make a lot of stink in there. And I would think bears, bees, flies.
We have a
if
lot
it's
of-
just
we have a lot of
regular
bears
garbage
up
can.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why we were talking about having somebody roll them away into a secured location overnight.
Like a shed or
So,
something.
yeah, then we have to have a shed or chain link,
Right.
fenced in area or something like that.
One of the town employees that I was talking to today about this, and I should have been asked more detail, he said wherever his mother lives, they do this, whether it's in West, I don't know where it is, I should have asked, but that's what he said. He's like, boy, when I take that down there in the summertime and I open that up, it can be putrid, honestly.
Right, but
And
that's,
what made me ask the
once
question.
there's something in there, at the end of the day, you put that bin away until it gets picked up. So you don't
So
really
even
want.
if it's a quarter full, you don't use that bin again.
Well, that's why we would have 10, and then you're going to kind of rotate the
I
bins.
understand. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that makes more sense.
And in Yorktown, it is in a park, I believe. That was why we even
They
thought
have-
of possibly doing that, so.
It is in the park in Yorktown, yes.
I just thought here, because, then if you had it here, it's open all the time and people are passing through, and you do have some, one would think, some employees that could manage that, and you could, maybe buy your starter kit from the town clerk or the recreation department or whatever, and it's all here all together, but,
You can tell Adam he has to do it.
I think that's a discussion we gotta come to. We need to throw out all our location options and weigh out the pros and cons of them and
right.
figure out what.
Also, speaking of location, so one of the locations is in New Milford where they process it. The other one is in Southington, Connecticut. Is that correct?
No,
On the
it's in-
paperwork,
it's-
it said,
It's in this particular company, their processing places in,
on there it said 2 places.
yeah, but they're taking ours to New Milford. I think,
Specifically,
honestly, the
that's-
problem with all of these composting places is they're running out of capacity. So, it's becoming more and more difficult to get a contract. So if, to me, I would, not go with one bidder. I would bid this out and get a couple of bids and find out, more detail. But, I guess for the grant, you just needed one bid, so.
Well, I know that right here in the town of Kent last night, I put on social media to ask who has chickens, and I got a reply from a bunch of people. And chickens love table scraps. It's like something you could take table scraps tomorrow and drop them off at people around here. And for one, you
But do
drop costs.
do they eat meat and seafood?
Chickens eat anything and everything.
So
Yes.
Soylent
You
Green
don't
of
want to fall
chickens.
down while feeding them because they'll eat you. So you could bring those foods, table scraps today, tomorrow, find a neighbor, post it on there. A lot of that table scraps, and for one, it drops the cost for people who have chickens. I have chickens. And 2, you can, a chicken always loves a kid with a bucket full of table scraps, And 2, you can always schmooze some fresh eggs from somebody who has eggs, from chickens, stuff like that. So
That's like gold
personally-
these days,
Yeah,
eggs.
yeah, absolutely. So, there's other ways, I think, too. It's a good program. The idea is there, but
But the chickens, is that scalable? So if you get over 200 people, are you going to have 200 people come into your chicken shack every?
well, that's why you just reach out to neighbors, just like I did, and to find out who in the neighborhood has them. And there's actually a lot of people. I actually stopped at 3 places in the town of Kent yesterday and spoke to them about what they do, like food processing places, delis, restaurants, to see what they do with it. And some of them, one of the restaurants actually separates their lettuce and other foods because of different types of animals that people come and get them from. One of the places just put their bread to the side, and then one place didn't do anything. Everything went to the garbage. So, so there are people that are already participating, getting table scraps from restaurants and stuff
Right.
like that.
And in Scarsdale, they started out in the schools. They started out in 4 public schools.
Yeah, that's a great
with this
idea.
program, and
Yeah.
then they, brought it to the town, so.
How long did Phillipstown run its pilot program? And you said this year.
It started like 8 months ago, and then in December, it became permanent for
So they only ran
January.
their pilot for 8 months.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're collecting 400 to 600 pounds of food scrap weekly.
Yeah, and Beacon is about the same amount of time, but they have 3 locations. So, and they have actually a very comprehensive website, and it has tons of data of what, because they were hand weighing it in the beginning, so it's a lot of good information.
I think Sue has a question.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue Kotzer, Town of Kent. You're referring to Phillipstown. On page 7 of the backup, it says the town of Phillipstown embarked on a food scrap recycling pilot program May 16th, 2023, with 0 participants. So when did they, it said now it says by December 31st, they had 164 families participating. So is that supposed to be May 16th, 2022? It's on page 7, Ann.
Kathy, can you comment on that? It's in the document that you provided.
It says that Phillipstown started their program May 16th, 2023.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be 2022.
2022? I just want to make sure that,
That would make sense with the months of the pilot program
okay.
until the end of
All
the
right,
year.
just making sure I'm on the right page. This sounds really interesting. I think the town needs to do a survey, some kind of a sampling of who might be interested in this. It is a pilot program. And there's a lot of questions. Where is it to be set up? How many households are interested? How do we get this information? How do you deal with moldy coffee grounds or moldy bread? Is that accepted, Kathy? Ann? Moldy bread or moldy? It's all compostable. Okay. Okay. All right. So if you go to page, I numbered my pages, just to make it easier
That's
for
why
me.
you have numbers. You're like, I'm
Well,
this.
I'm not going to say, yeah, anyway, I number my pages. Under the costs and the other Kent specifics, there's a lot of maybes in this whole section that, where is it going to be? Where are the kids going to be? In the sheds behind Town Hall? I don't know what sheds are behind Town Hall.
I think we would have to get a shed because.
Oh, now you'll have to buy a shed.
Well, I'm
Well,
just
it said
saying.
in here.
Because Adam has the one shed out there that we use for everything, so.
Yeah, he has a roll-off.
Right, so we,
That's the only,
So
anyway.
what does the grant cover?
I have to look at the RFP in detail, but as far as I can tell, something like buying a shed would be included, right? It's,
All right.
You know, it's a fairly small limit, but I think with what we would need for this pilot, it would certainly fit.
So is it inconceivable that we pass the resolution tonight to apply for the grant and then work the details out? You never have to use a grant. You know,
Right.
you could get it, but at least
Oh.
we'd have time to vet out everything.
Right,
We do
because
have
it
to-
takes
we do have to
time
make-
to
we
get a
do have
grant.
to- We do have to get the grant put in.
Yes.
If we want to do it, but if we wait too long, the grant won't be available. At least we could do that, and then we got time to go back and really vet out the details and come back to everybody with location, survey of how many people want to participate,
Yeah, okay.
how often it's going to be open, who's going to man it, all the details that we don't have specifics on, we can try to work out.
All right. Also, I contacted the, curbside compost, and I spoke with Nick, and I asked him about how much the mulch or the compost would cost to have delivered. And for a cubic foot bag of compost, it's $17. So will this compost be delivered to a location for free, or will the town be charged for the compost?
We have to pay for it,
So,
but that's covered in the $1,000 promotion budget, annual promotion budget.
okay, I'm just making clear that just because we're putting in our food scraps, we're not getting free compost back. We need to pay for the compost or the topsoil or the brown mulch brown mulch. So, just a little food for thought. And also, I was watching TV tonight, and New York City has a dog poop recycling program, which has been in effect 2019 or 2017, and it's a great success because there's a lot of dogs walking in the city, and
We collect 27,000 tons.
Oh, my God.
it's a lot of poop.
wow.
Thank you for your time.
Holy cow.
Yes, 27,000 tons.
It also says acceptable list, pet food, not acceptable list, pet food.
So,
Really?
Yeah.
So I'd like to move that we go ahead and seek funding for a pilot program for food scrap composting through the New York State DEC Municipal Food Scraps Recycling Initiatives Grant Program. And then we can also talk about a motion to do a survey or something like that.
is everyone,
So moved.
are you making that motion?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm asking a question down here. Sean pointed something out to me that I was going to ask quickly.
Is that acceptable? And it
So
wasn't
is it something you
acceptable.
want to discuss further before we?
Just dumb question.
Right in the front page, it's like,
First page, acceptable list,
put food,
fifth one down at the end has pet food is
And then-
acceptable.
and then
And then not acceptable, fourth one down, first item says pet food is not acceptable.
Pet waste. They don't want
Oh,
pet
you
waste.
think it says pet food, all right.
Yeah.
Probably a
It definitely
misprint on
says-
their part.
Yes, yeah. Pre or post, front, nose or tail?
All right, I'm sorry, Ann, I was distracted, you can start over.
She's waiting for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Councilman Campbell,
Aye.
Councilman Tompori,
Nay.
Councilman Ruffin,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd,
Nay.
Supervisor McCaustin,
Yes.
Okay, so we will go after the grant. If it turns out that we are not going to be doing this pilot program in the town, and we are lucky enough to be funded, we will simply rescind the funding. That's not a problem.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And I will talk with the Climate Smart Committee about the best means to gauge the level of interest in the town. If we do some kind of a survey, that way we also have contact information for people who are interested. So if we do launch a pilot, we'll be able to get in touch with those people and get started. Thank you for your time and attention.
All right. I have a couple items that I have to add to the agenda. I make a motion to add an item for Lake Carmel Park District to advertise for lifeguards.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So it's that time that now we need to, we want to start advertising for the lifeguards in the papers, so I'm just asking tonight to do that. So I make a motion that we advertise for lifeguards for the 2023 season for Lake Carmel Park District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item was that they came in actually on Friday last week. Our antifreeze system in the town is supposed to be changed every 5 years, and it hasn't been changed in 8+ years.
Antifreeze for what, the? Sprinkler system. The sprinkler, the fire suppression. Gotcha.
We're due for it. So, the total from the Calculated Fire Protection Company is $8,340 to do town hall, it's town hall, police, was it yours too?
Should be the library, too. All 3 buildings.
Yes, it is, all 3 buildings. So, I'm just asking, police, yeah, so town hall, library, police, and the water room. So.
It's a
we have-
no-brainer.
We have to do this, but, so, any questions? No? Okay.
Do you have a contract with that company?
Yes, because yes, we do.
Yeah,
And
so-
Proprietary.
they-
Yeah. You're welcome. Is that a motion?
I'm gonna,
Madam
yeah, I make a
Supervisor?
motion to.
wait, I'm sorry,
Oh.
so you made a motion to add to the agenda, who
Oh,
seconded that?
oh,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I make a motion to approve Calculated Fire Protection Company, Inc. for the amount of $8,340 to do the antifreeze system in the town hall, the library, the police station, and the water room. Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
About 3.
Who says they didn't?
I didn't get a notice, but they very well could have. So we're gonna do it now.
They generally test it to see.
Like a pressure test?
Yes, they tested it, it was not good.
Okay.
So, okay, one other item, I make a motion to add an item for engineering from Barton and LaJudas.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we've had some issues with our water districts 1 and 2 with the PFAS and other contaminants. So we had Barton LaJudas come and they sent us a estimate for what it would cost to do the, I don't know, what is this? The
Engineering.
engineering for the Water District 1 and Water District 2. So their total engineering, their total cost is $52,300 for both systems. This will get put back on for the residents of Water District 1 and Water District 2. Anything else you want to say about it?
No, I obviously can understand what this is. They're putting in big filtration. You want to, you have,
Actually,
you want
you
to
should-
explain what it is?
So, yes, they have PFAS in the water there, where it's been tested. And so we have this engineering firm that's going to come in and determine, the structure of the wells, where possibly the PFAS may be coming from, what are some solutions, to be found.
And to
basically.
improve the water quality, not just for the PFAS, but for the water quality.
Overall, yes. I mean, yeah.
When the engineering's done, though, they'll be recommending filtration, the whole, hopefully they'll be recommending everything that fixes the situation.
Well, as a well drilling contractor, I tend to love to drill wells. So yes, most of those guys would like to do filtration. That's the first thing they throw at it. But knowing the area, my idea is really drill a well that's deeper. Those wells are not very deep. And so you can potentially drill a well, sleeve off, let's say, the first 100 feet of surface water and just draw from below.
So the theory being that whatever's getting in there is at a higher level, and you would get below that and protect it by sleeving it down past it.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So, they looked at me a little weird when I suggested that over filtration, but I liked it. It's a lot cheaper. Filtration, right now would be very expensive. And then you have to take the media, which is generally activated charcoal, carbon, which is basically made from coconut shells, and it has to go to a landfill somewhere, right? And so even if there's no regulation on that right now because of the PFAS that would be in it, at some point down the road there will be. And it'll be very expensive, not only to purchase, but to get rid of too. So where you could potentially drill a couple of wells, and let's say it only lasts for 10 years, and then the PFAS manages its way down there. That's 10 years of not having to worry about filtration in the system.
It's interesting.
That's just my professional opinion on it.
What? It's something I never thought as a solution. That's
Right.
good. That's why we got a well driller on the board.
So,
All right, do you want to make the motion? Here.
I make a motion that we hire Barton and LaJudas to do the engineering work for, this is both water districts,
Yep,
right?
it's all
For
together.
Kent Water Districts 1 and Kent Water District number 2.
Last page,
Where's the dollar amount?
last page.
For an amount not to exceed $52,300. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
and if I may say that, obviously you need engineering reports before you could go and then bid out the potential for repairs. So it's an initial
They
step that has to
basically
be
give
taken.
us the specs for bidding.
Correct.
Okay,
And we can also go out then for grants as well.
For grants, exactly. You have to have the engineering to get the grants.
Yes.
perfect.
All right, you're up.
Oh. I ask the board to approve the following vouchers for March 7th, 2023 that were over the threshold. This says 2022 vouchers. Is that supposed to be?
Oh, that's a mistake, sorry.
Card member services, $6,918.80 for a credit card for February. Carl J. LaPierre, $8,500 for relocated furnaces in the highway. Semco Water, $2,756.68 for Water District Number 1 in February. $5,199.90 for Water District Number 2 in February. The Commissioner of Finance, $9,530.52 for the 2022 warrant adjustments. Global Montello Group, $6,063.15 for gas, $4,348.23 for diesel. Hogan, Rossi, and Ligori, $5,416.63 for legal services for March. Magna 5 MS, $5,825.27 for network services for March. Medicare reimbursement, $32,418.80 for the first quarter. Nycomco, $2,972 for the two-way radios for the police for March. NYSEG, $2,573.18 for electric for town hall for February. State Comptroller, $33,927 for justice court fines and fees for January. Wind Waste Innovation, $7,536.09 for Lake Carmel garbage. I ask the board to approve the following. Or
Second.
The stated, whatever, not following.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I have a couple of announcements. So we're advertising for lifeguards, so this is perfect. Mike O'Brien will hold the annual course at Lake Carmel for lifeguard certification, CPR recertification, and lifeguard recertification. You can, if any questions, you can contact Mike at mpo818@yahoo.com, and he'll tell you all the information for the course.
We should get our advertisement signs out around the lake like we did
Yes.
last year. I think that helped.
And then Putnam County Youth Bureau Pegasus Program. It is a program for free confidential program for children ages 5 to 14 who have a parent or family member suffering from alcoholism or other drug dependencies. You can call Pegasus Coordinator Sheila Hanley, 845-808-1600, extension 46126 for more information. And then on Saturday, March 25th, 2023, from 10 to 12, there is a free rabies vaccine clinic. You bring a photo ID for proof of Putnam County residency, and you can get your animal, get their rabies vaccine. What is it? Dogs, cats, and ferrets.
No chickens.
No chickens. More information, you can call Putnam County Department of Health, 845-808-1390, extension 43160. That's all I have.
I got a few announcements. I saw the digital sign on 311 for the Kent Police Cadet Program. What is the date? March 13th at the station? 6 o'clock at the police station, and it's for 16 to 21, is that? Or is it 13 to 21? Okay, so anybody that would be interested, any of our young adults who are interested in the Kent Police Cadet Program, you can either stop by the PD and get more information or just show up that night, correct? Correct. Okay. The Beautification Committee, we are meeting next Wednesday. We're going to try to organize the town cleanup day to coincide with Earth Day on April 22nd. I think, Bob, you were going to try to restart like a competition or something?
Actually, the chairman for Lake Carmel Park District, Walter, he's the one that initiated it a few years ago, wants to restart it up again.
Okay, so we'll talk about that next Wednesday, and I'll bring you more information. I got a thank you from the Danbury Hat-Tricks. We had over 200 community members go to the game last Friday, and from everybody I spoke to, they had a blast. So I want to thank the Danbury Hat-Tricks and Herm Schorser for giving us the discounted tickets. I, for one, had a great time.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was good.
And also, the Knights of Columbus are doing their annual it's easy to say, Fish Fry Fridays during Lent. So if anyone's interested, they got all the proceeds goes to worthy charities in the greater Carmel, Kent area. So if anybody's interested, you go to the Knights of Columbus Facebook page. It's on Council 6318 events. And that's all I have.
Okay. I forgot to ask you, Supervisor McGlasson, have we confirmed with Sammer for June 10th? Okay, so e-waste pickup will be here at Town Hall on June 10th, 9 a.m. to noon, Kent residents only. Also, I'd like to give a brief grant update, if I may. So, on the positive side, we just submitted an application through to our New York State Senators for community projects funding to try to receive the $1.3 million that we need for the engineering on the Lake Carmel Dam repairs. And that's also going to be submitted to Congressman Slater's office in a few days. I want to thank Councilman Ruthven for helping us to line up letters of support, and our Chamber of Commerce for getting us letters on very short notice.
Congressman Lawler's office.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Slater is the State Assembly. Yes, Congressman Lawler. Thank you, Chris. Also, on the not-so-good news, we did not get the New York Forward funding that we sought. That application was not successful, but we are going to continue to pursue those objectives through other channels. There's some funding that may be coming in for multi-use housing. We did receive a small DEC grant that's going to help us develop a sort of a walking and cycling pedestrian plan for the town, just sort of a sketch that we can then use to get applications in for transportation alternatives. And we will, of course, go back to New York Forward. So we will persist and hopefully ultimately be successful in that area as well. And then I just want to mention a couple of things at the library. They always have a lot going on. Last Wednesday, we had a fascinating talk by Michael Karopian, who was untangling all of the different NIMMs, Daniel and otherwise, and overall the history that's behind Daniel Nimham and the ultimately the statue that we're hoping to get for the town. Coming up on Monday, they have tax assistance from AARP, so anybody's welcome to come to the library. You do need to make an appointment, not through the library, but with the AARP. You can call 211 or 800-899-1479. That's on the library website, 800-899-1479. Appointments will be available on Monday the 13th from 10 to 5. I think there's a lot of other, obviously there are a lot of other wonderful activities going on. I encourage you to check their website, but I thought that one was especially of interest. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
On the same note, Ann had called me last Thursday to try to get letters of support for the grants that we just submitted for, and I want to say kudos to Assemblyman Slater for the quick response. I mean, I had his letter of support literally within a half hour.
Yes.
Funny story is I called him and then ran into him within 20 minutes, and within a half hour later, I had the letter of support, so.
I think that helped. I did not have that kind of fortuitous circumstance with State Senator Harkin, but we got his letters as well.
He has certainly pledged his support to the town of Kent, and we can count on him in the future for those type of things. Very, very responsive and very helpful.
Anyone else? No?
Just this weekend, I'll be going to the trade show where I'm going to sit in a very long class learning about PFAS more and arsenic and all those stuff, good stuff. So
Bring back a lot of good info for us.
yes, will do.
We ready?
Public comment.
Sue Kotzer again. I just want to make sure that the beautification committee, even though Bobby and Walter are handling it, that it just is not the competition in Lake Carmel, that you don't forget about the rest of Kent. Route 52 is a mess. Farmers Mills is a mess. Now that the snow is melted, it's all over the place. 301 in Kent Cliffs, a lot of trash. So don't forget the rest of Kent. Thanks.
Bobby, that's on you. Yeah, exactly.
I would just want to comment, I think if the event is well publicized and we can maybe get some of the people in some of our lake communities involved, the Conservation Advisory Committee always participates, maybe we can do some outreach through the school newsletter, get some high schoolers and their families out, scouts, there are lots of different groups that can help cover large parts of the town if we are organized and get the word out promptly. So I hope it'll be a great success, and I thank you for taking it on.
Offer to give volunteer hours to kids that need need
their
hours.
community
Yes,
service
their community
hours.
hours.
NHS, National Honor Society, Boy Scouts.
Yep.
Maybe the cadets, we can get them once we get that rolling.
Chief Owens has been a great volunteer. Been out there.
All right, everyone good?
Yep.
I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session for personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi,
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry, I have
everyone.
one more thing, and if I don't
It's
say
too
this,
late.
no, it's not. If I don't say this, I'll get in trouble. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone of Irish descent,
And not Irish descent.
and non-Irish descent also. Everybody's Irish on that day, I guess.